The question for this video is, if you took a Strat style SX and you put genuine Fender Strat electronics into it, would it then sound like a Fender Strat? Now your first inclination, your first thought is, no, of course not. There's no ways. I mean, a Fender Strat is a Fender Strat. But I've learned some things about the SX which I find interesting. I got one on the hanging here that I bought recently. This is an SX, a Strat style SX. Now, you go onto most forums online, and a couple of years back, people were telling you these things were rubbish. They were student guitars. Well, not that they were rubbish, but they weren't good, right? You'd never use one of these things professionally or in a studio or anything like that. It's not terrible, but it very much is a student guitar, right? This is a vintage style, and the shop talk, what I have heard from the shop and from various friends of mine working in the same business and spending a lot of time on forums, I've done hours of research into this. It turns out that the body of an SX is actually pretty darn good. They reckon there's not much wrong with the body. It's not the same wood as a Fender Strat, granted, because these are made in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, whereas the Strat is made in the US, again, to the best of my knowledge. But from what I understand, the body is fine. Where they save their money is they cheap out on the electronics and the hardware. Now, when I say electronics, just to make sure we all understand each other, when I'm talking about electronics, I'm referring to the pots, the pickup selector, and the 3 pickups, and the jack, right? When I talk about hardware, I'm talking about the bridge, I'm talking about the machine heads and the nuts also. They cheap out on the electronics and the hardware to save money, but also you'll notice, although this is the exact same shape as a Fender Strat, by the way, this is a VTG series, so you'll notice the machine heads are meant to look like the 1950s, 1960s Strats, or 70s, is it? Point is, although they cheap out on the electronics and the hardware, the body is apparently fine, which leads me to my question, can you actually change these pickups out for Fender Strat pickups? Would it work? Well, I happen to have bought a set of Fender Strat pickups that I'm going to be changing this out with. In a minute, we'll cut to me playing this thing plugged into my little amp, and then we'll compare that to after I've soldered in the new pickups. But I think it's a viable question because, honestly, having played a lot of these, because we do sell these in the shop where I work, and we've sold a lot of them, I've got to play double digits of these things, and honestly, they're not bad. I would almost be willing to use this in a studio situation, almost. So I want to see if I can't put genuine Strat pickups in here and see how it sounds, just for the sake of clarity and comparison's sake. A SX, at the time of recording this video, they retail at around 4,600, give or take. It depends if it's a VTG series, depends on various factors, but it's roughly 4,600. I got this one for 1,500 because it was secondhand, and where I work in the shop, you get first dibs on secondhand stuff. I plugged this guy in, I tried it out, and it actually felt really good. I mean, the frets are nice and smooth. You can see this neck is nice and straight. There's nothing wrong with the body of this guitar. So that having been said, with all that preamble, let's plug this thing in and see what it sounds like.
But before we do that, I wanted to show you the guts of an electric guitar. I was going to film myself soldering these things, but it just, for various reasons, it didn't end up happening. So here we are. This is the old pickups still. Let's just do a quick sort of geography lesson for those of you who don't know how electric guitars work. The 3 black things on the left, the black rectangular things, are your pickups. Each pickup has 2 wires. You have a hot and a cold. Now, the pickup on the bottom left, the one that's sort of half off the screen, that's got the white wire, that is your neck pickup. The one in the middle with the yellow wire is your middle pickup, and the one on the top that's slightly skew with the red wire is your bridge pickup. Then you've got your pots, which are the 3 silver round things on the right-hand side of the screen. The one with the most wires right in the middle of the picture, that's your volume knob, or pot, or potentiometer. And then the 2 on the right of that volume pots are your tone pots. And then the rectangular, the metal rectangular thing with the board that's got 6 wires soldered to it, that is your pickup selector. Now, I'm not going to go into like soldering techniques and tips and things. That's for a different video. I will say that how you tell which pickups go where, a lot of the time they have the names written on the bottoms of the actual pickup. So it'll say like neck pickup or bridge pickup on the bottom. Sometimes it won't, and then you've got to either go by the colors of the wires or the length of those wires. My pickups came in a clear plastic thing, so I had to go by the length of the wires, and you can see they all get earthed to the volume pots. Just twist the wires together and solder them on, and then all of the hot wires get soldered to the pickup selector. But that's where you've got to be careful to make sure that you're soldering those wires in the correct places. That having been said, let's move on to the actual comparison, the part we've all been waiting for. Let's listen to the difference between SX pickups and Fender pickups.
This is a factory SX, nothing's been changed yet, nothing custom, straight out of the box. This is what it would sound like. The only thing that has been changed is the strings. I should probably point that out. These are any balls, 10s, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know what strings that SX normally puts on their guitars in the factory, but these are new strings. I will put better strings on at some point, but not that there's anything wrong with any balls. But let's have a listen. I will play clean first, and then I'll add some distortion. See what it sounds like. Right, next time you hear me playing this, we'll have new pickups in here, and we'll get to hear the difference. Right, these are the new pickups, brand new as of about 2 days ago when I soldiered them in. I would have loved to have filmed the process, but unfortunately some friends came over and things got a bit complicated. I've got some photos that you would have seen by now. I do have the old pickups here that are a little bit more yellow than these new ones. I have some weird and wacky ideas I might put these things to use. For instance, make a shovel guitar or something like that, who knows. But for now, I'm going to play this, demo it, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on how this thing sounds to me, and how the process went and such. And then after that, I will end this video by doing a side-by-side comparison, so that you guys can listen for yourselves and let me know in the comments what you think. Let's get to it. Let's record. Alrighty, conclusion about these new pickups. I'll start by saying that let's understand, anytime you watch somebody on YouTube doing a comparison between amps or guitars or pickups in this case, there's always a little bit of personal preference and bias going on. It's impossible to not have that situation. I mean, the fact is, this is my guitar that I use on stage. I dropped a whole lot of money on these new pickups, so naturally I want them to sound better. That's just human nature. But I hope my bias doesn't shine through too much. I'm trying to make this as balanced as I can. I'm trying to make this as scientific as I can. That having been said, the second point has to do with the fact that I try to eliminate as many variables as I can. So these tone knobs between testing the old pickups and the new pickups should not have moved. It's not impossible that one might have got bumped, for instance, but I doubt it, because when you're changing pickups out, obviously the pick guard is flipped over on the counter. So things can move, but to the best of my knowledge, they didn't move. The pickup height also should have stayed the same. That one's quite hard to achieve because obviously when you put the new pickups in, you got to set those heights. But I did measure and try to make sure that they were at the same height. And then nothing else has been changed on this guitar. It's still the same strings. Everything else is the same. I didn't adjust the neck. I didn't fiddle with the intonation or action or anything like that. Should be the only thing that changed was the pickups. That having been said, my final thoughts on the sound is that these pickups are much better. Probably no surprise to you there, but I really do find these pickups to be crisper, brighter, smoother. The older pickups I found to be very tinny. I used to have to boost the lower frequencies and filter out some of the higher frequencies because it just was tinny and it was difficult to get a decent EQ going. You know, you'd be playing and your bottom E here just wouldn't be sounding out, so it was weird. But with these pickups, my tones, in fact, one of the things that I've done is I've adjusted these tones. I played a gig on Sunday, and I had to drop back on the lower frequencies because I'd cranked them so much on the previous pickups. These just feel a lot more balanced to me. You can also tell, by the way, visually on the actual sound waves. I recorded this using software, by the way, and the sound waves of the older pickups are much smoother. They don't have much definition to them, whereas on the new pickups they do have a lot more definition. So you can even tell visually that these are better pickups. There was something else I was going to say that I thought of and I've forgotten what it was. The way that I tested these for myself, by the way, I've gotten very used to what my older pickups sound like through my amp. So when I plugged these in to my amp, I got to really listen to what it sounds like in my room, because by the way, there's a big difference between what I'm hearing in my studio here and what you guys are going to hear on the actual video, so bear that in mind also. But I did record this using software. This isn't through my camera, this is through my studio software, so it is professionally done, to try to give you guys the clearest sample I can get. Obviously it is still YouTube. That being said, I really hope this video has been helpful to you. What I'm going to do now, once I finish talking, is we'll cut to a side-by-side, a direct side-by-side comparison between old pickups and new pickups, so that you guys can listen for yourselves and let me know in the comments below what you think. Like I say, there is a lot of personal preference here. Don't be afraid to be truthful, to be straightforward with me. I really hope this video helps you. I hope it's been educational, and I will see you in the next one.